I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Wilmington City Council. I'd like to welcome all those who are with us here this evening, all those who are watching us at home. Thank you for taking an interest in your government. I believe that we have Mr. Josh Lee, the Wilmington Fire Department. Is he here? Please come forward and give our invocation. If everyone will stand and remain standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, sir.
Let's pray. Father, we just thank you for a wonderful evening to gather together. Lord, and God, I just ask that you would help lead this meeting tonight. God, I ask that you would give our mayor and council wisdom, Lord, and guidance as they lead the city. Father, I just ask, God, that all that are here tonight, those that are being recognized for awards, we want to thank them for all that they do. God, we just ask that you would give all of us a spirit of unity tonight as this meeting takes place. And we just thank you, and we give you honor and glory, and we thank you for all these things. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have two presentations this evening. Well, we have actually three, but one of them has had to cancel because of the weather, which is our auditor that will be rescheduling that in the next meeting or two. But our first recognition is a recognition of Ms. Rose Tatum, who's the Volunteer Leadership Lab, and Proclamation recognizing 2026 as International Year of Volunteers. Rose will meet me down in the front. City of Wilmington, North Carolina recognition reads, whereas the United Nations General Assembly has designated 2026 as the International Year of Volunteers for Sustainable Development, recognizing volunteerism as a powerful driver for achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals and for building resilient, inclusive, and sustainable communities. And whereas the City of Wilmington's strategic priorities include community reliance, housing stability, education opportunities, environmental stewardship, health and well-being, and workforce development, each of which relies on strong partnerships between local government, nonprofit organizations, and engaged residents. And whereas volunteers across Wilmington play a vital role in advancing these priorities by supporting disaster preparedness and recovery, strengthening housing and education initiatives, promoting public health, development workforce skills, protecting natural and cultural resources, and expanding the capacity of nonprofit and public sector organizations, and whereas local efforts to strengthen volunteer systems, including shared platforms, coordinated engagement strategies, and the development of an annual volunteer impact report can help inform city and nonprofit planning, guide strategic investment, support equity and volunteer access, and demonstrate the measurable values of volunteerism to Wilmington's long-term sustainability. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Wilmington City Council, we do hereby recognize 2026 as International Year of Volunteers for Sustainable Development in Wilmington, North Carolina. And to say, Rose, thank you for everything you folks do. And I'm going to turn the microphone over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Saffo. And thank you, council members. So thank you for recognizing the role volunteers play in the life of our city. This proclamation highlights how volunteers are essential to advancing Wilmington's strategic priorities. The impact flows in every direction, from nonprofits to local government to hospitals, boards, civic organizations, and neighborhood-level action. Volunteers are a driving force behind sustainable progress in Wilmington. These acts, both big and small, are the quiet infrastructure that holds our community together. Volunteering improves individual well-being, reducing stress and loneliness, strengthening purpose, building skills, and creating meaningful connections. Volunteers also strengthen organizations by expanding capacity, increasing visibility and advocacy, and helping missions reach further than they could have alone. And volunteers strengthen our city by deepening belonging, creating safer and more connected neighborhoods, improving outcomes for our most vulnerable neighbors, and contributing to a healthier, more unified Wilmington. That's why it's so important that we don't just celebrate our volunteers, but also invest in the systems that support them, strong volunteer programs, thoughtful leadership, and meaningful opportunities to serve. When we support volunteers well, we strengthen Wilmington as a whole. Thank you to every volunteer that makes this city a better place.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Next presentation, I want to recognize the Wilmington Police Department Housing Task Force members and all of the staff that is here. Also, we have Ty Garrett, who is chair of that committee, who is with us, or the chair of the Wilmington Housing Authority, and Betsy, and Dr. Umar. There's also part of the group. Come on up here. Let's bring everybody up here. I'd like to ask the entire city council to please come forward too. We got a big group over here. Yeah, we're going to give these to the officers. Well, first and foremost, we're here to honor this great group of individual law enforcement personnel here that do a tremendous job day in and day out, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in not only protecting our entire community, but also those properties in the Wilmington Housing Authority's jurisdiction, and there's several thousand units that belong into that jurisdiction, and the Wilmington Housing Authority and have done a phenomenal job in partnering with the city of Wilmington over a number of years in working with our law enforcement personnel to make those communities safer. A lot of people don't realize, but we've had a 40% drop, I believe, in crime in those particular neighborhoods, and that's due to the fact of the hard work that you folks have put into this, in addition to the relationships that you have built, because I think that's more important than anything that we talk about here today, is the relationships that you folks have forged with the neighbors in those communities to make certain that we have a safer community. And a lot of people don't realize the vast majority of crime that happens in those neighborhoods are not committed by the people that live there. They're committed by people that come from outside the area into the community. And these folks have done a phenomenal job in protecting our citizens and making those communities safer. And I just want to say on behalf of all of the citizens of our community, we thank you for that endeavor. And we know how hard that work can be, but to build those relationships are extremely important to fighting crime and to making certain that our communities are safe. Without the citizens, we cannot fight crime. And I've said that over and over again. It takes the citizens having a trust in our law enforcement agencies so that we can combat it and make sure that we're putting the proper procedures and things in place to protect those communities and those neighbors and those children that live in those communities. So again, I just want to say thank you to the staff of the Wilmington Housing Authority, to these men and women that work diligently to protect our community, and to thank the city council for also making certain that this partnership stays alive. It's been one of those partnerships that has been in place for quite some time that has paid dividends for all of us, and I'm glad that we were all able to come together to make certain that we could come together and make this a reality for our community. And working with the police department and the sheriff's department has been critically important in making that happen. So we have a plaque for each and every one of you here. So we'll start with JC. Officer Perez. Where's Officer Perez? Officer Perez is not here, so hold on to Officer Perez's. And I also want to invite our police chief, Chief Zudema. Chief Zudema, will you please come up? And I think Chief has got a few words to also say.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You probably said it better than I could. These men and women do a great job of not just enforcing crime and lowering those numbers, but the relationships they build in those communities to build stronger communities. They help the residents there take ownership and build a sense of pride in that community. And that's really, really important to what we do collectively, right? This is a joint effort. I want to thank Sheriff McMahon and his staff, obviously, who are up here as well as in the audience. This is just one of several partnerships we have with the Sheriff's Office to do some really incredible work in this community. And as you noted, we don't do it by ourselves. The community is a huge part of that. So on behalf of myself, and I know on behalf of Sheriff McMahon, we appreciate the recognition for these men and women that do incredible work in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So we're going to give these numbers out. Okay. Sergeant Alep. There you go, my man. It's a tough guy right over here. Officer Manchik. It's Officer Manchik. Yes, sir. Officer Manchik. Good to see you, sir. Sergeant Mitchell. There you go, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Officer Kalon. Kalon. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. Corporal Short. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Okay. Guevara. Sir, there we go, Deputy. Thank you, sir. Corporal Chisholm. There you go, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Corporal Malcolm. There we go. Thank you, sir. Officer DeBerry. Deputy Jenkins. There we go. Let's see. Here's the last one. They call you Chappie. Where's Chappie? Right here. There we go. Chappie, good to see you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Give these guys a big hand. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everyone. Betsy, I see you. All right. Next item of business is our consent agenda items, C1 through C3. Are there any items that any council member would like to hear separately? If not, what are the wishes of council in respect to the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, item C2 needs to be removed and continued in light of the continuance of the ACFR presentation.
Okay, very good. So items C1 through C3 excluding C2.
C3 pool.
And C, you want to take C3 too? Okay. All right, we'll remove item C3 also. So do we have a motion to approve item C1? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Santaguida. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. At this time, I'd like to call on Mayor Pro Tem Spears. Ms. Spears?
Becky, I got a question, and I've asked this question several times. But I see where we've contracted or put out an RFQ for on-call contracts to four firms for structural designing or engineering services. And do we not have in-house engineers, or do we not have in-house personnel who could do this work to a certain extent?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor, members of council. We have several in-house engineers, none with structural engineering background, really other than myself. It's very, very technical expertise, so things like our bulkhead along the Riverwalk, our bridges, very refined technical experience. So we don't have that level of experience in-house. When we talk about our in-house experience, we usually talk about things that are sidewalks, transportation related. Obviously, we have our transportation and traffic engineer, but with regards to structural engineering, no, we don't have that level of expertise that is required by these firms.
Got you. Thank you. That's good. I motion move C3.
We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Joyner. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Looks like it passes unanimously. It's not registering on the counter, Dylan, but I'm going to call it as its unanimous vote. That brings us to our next item of business, which is our public information.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. Would you mind actually taking a vote on C2 to continue it until February the 17th?
We have a motion to continue item C2 to February the 15th, did you say?
17th.
I'm sorry, 17th, by Councilmember Joyner. Well, we have Chiquima Quintana and Councilmember Santaguida that have made that motion. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. That brings us to our next item of business, which is our public information. We have 3 speakers that have signed up to speak with us this evening. Our first speaker is Ms. E.J. Hanley about Greenfield Park, who also lives in the city of Wilmington.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council, and city staff. I want to begin by acknowledging the City of Wilmington's commitment to parks and public spaces. The city owns approximately 744 acres throughout the park system, and the council has set aside $1 million for the acquisition of several more acres of park development. That investment reflects an understanding of how vital green spaces are to our health, safety, and quality of life. However, tonight I am here to speak about Greenfield Park, which has long been considered a city gem, and yet today, that gem is severely tarnished. I have personally witnessed Greenfield Park's serious decline over the past 10 years. On December 28, 2025, I sent a letter to all members of City Council expressing my concerns. I also sent several photos showing problems with the 4.8-mile multi-use path. Council Member Andrews responded promptly, and I would like to sincerely thank you for that response. The multi-use path has broken pavement and root upheaval. These uneven surfaces create accessibility issues and safety hazards. Additionally, it is my understanding that there are only 3 full-time parks and ground maintenance staff that are assigned to Greenfield Park. These employees perform great work under difficult conditions, cleaning bathrooms, replacing rotting wooden planks on the bridges, maintaining turf, and much more. They are dedicated professionals, but they are clearly overextended. I ask you to please consider assigning 3 additional full-time parks and ground maintenance staff to Greenfield Park. Allocate capital maintenance funds specifically for tree root mediation and long-term path stabilization. Develop and publish a scheduled inspection and repair plan for the 4.8-mile multi-use path. Greenfield Park reflects Wilmington to residents and visitors alike. With the right staffing and care, it can once again reflect the pride this city has in its public spaces. I thank you for your time, your service, and your consideration.
The next speaker is Ms. Lisa Cromartie, who also lives in the city, in dress and discrimination and racism, and help with overall legal advice in getting my babies back due to county taking my babies. Is Ms. Cromartie here? Okay. Third speaker is Mr. David Kilmeyer, who lives in Wilmington also, who talks about narcotics and distribution into city schools.
Thank you. Thank you to the city, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to speak here. I spoken with, and I missed Mr. Andrews, along with Mr. Merrick, Tim Merrick, has assisted me in navigating the local government. I'm a disabled U.S. Naval veteran and have lived in Wilmington most of my life. Hanover Landing is an apartment complex that largely provides Section 8 housing for U.S. veterans through HUD-VASH, which I'm part of. I've been there almost a year. A drug rehab program and asylum seeker housing for asylum seekers and their children are another large percentage of the Hanover Landing through Section 8. These asylum seekers, largely Honduran, have brought with them to Hanover Landing the criminal element and gangs, which are distributing cocaine, crystal meth, pills, and other narcotics. The drug distribution that controls these drugs are distributed through Hanover Landing to the Creek Department's local and middle high schools. On October 24th, 2025, my home was broken into by one of these criminal gang members, and I was assaulted by Denzel Johnson, born April 22nd, 1994. My head, my mouth, and my knees were repeatedly stomped on. It still hurts to eat, even speak, the damage that Mr. Johnson did by repeatedly stomping on my face. Mr. Johnson still is at large. Mr. Johnson was part of a prostitution ring that also is occurring in Hanover Landing by this Honduran criminal gang. Mr. Johnson is raping, beating, and forcing Miss Morgan Edwards into sex slavery for his drug addiction. Miss Edwards had come to me and informed me how this drug ring distributes narcotics to take over the Section 8 apartments and those in the rehab program and throughout our school system. I'm here to publicly offer an award of $500 in total for any information leading to the arrest and conviction of Denzel Johnson. I'm publicly offering an award of $100 for any information leading for anyone giving information to the arrest of Denzel Johnson, since the law enforcement cannot find him. I'm publicly offering an award of $400 for any information leading to the conviction of Mr. Denzel Johnson. I can be contacted at 910-604-2386. This Honduran drug gang controls the entire apartment complex by selling drugs to the addicts of the rehab Section 8 housing program. The houses are destroyed and ran through, used as trash houses for prostitution until the tenants are fully and finally evicted. After completely being destroyed, the apartments are then rebuilt and refurbished by the same illegal aliens. The drug game uses the Arab store, Safeway, gambling machines as a front, as well as near the Creek apartments. I believe the management of Hanover Landing is simply scared of the consequences of standing up against this drug distribution network. I do understand. I'm here to ask for the federal government, the U.S. federal law enforcement agencies to invest the drug distribution from Hanover Landing by this Honduran criminal gang. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we had one other speaker that has signed up, and we have room for that speaker, is Charles D. Richardson, who will be speaking to us about development and resources and business.
Excuse me. How y'all doing today?
Good, sir.
All right. My main thing is, it's my first time kind of being up here speaking, so pardon me. Just plans in the area of Rankin Street from 8th Street to 11th Street. We've seen a lot of changes lately. Development, good. Crime has gone down, yes, but there's a lack of resources, programs, opportunities, etc., for those people that they helped in the area. I seen y'all congratulate the officers there a little second ago, wonderful thing, but where are we gonna put in some type of measurements to prevent areas like that from going back into those type of situations? After school programs are no longer around. Buses hardly even ride through there for people trying to get back and forth to work. Things of that nature. And I just wanted to know what type of resources and education about those resources can be distributed throughout the community so they can have access to the things that these other developers that I see are coming in, other homeowners that I see are coming in, which are, quite frankly, I feel as though are resorting to some type of tactics to remove owners, renters, and people who've been in the area for decades upon decades. Just a little bit more information provided to the public, especially those homeowners who've been there over a quarter century or better, would be very much appreciated. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. This concludes our public information segment. Next item of business is our ordinances. Item 01 is an ordinance making supplemental appropriations in the amount of $203,344 for the resurfacing of the tennis courts 9 through 18 and center court at the Althea Gibson Tennis Complex at Empie Park. And at this time, I'd like to recognize our city manager, Ms. Becky Hawk. Ms. Hawk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. This item will be presented by our Director of Parks and Recreation, Amy Beatty.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. The Althea Gibson tennis courts numbers 9 through 18 and center court were constructed in 2010 and resurfaced in 2018. Industry standards recommend that the courts be resurfaced every 4 to 8 years to retain their integrity. Staff has allocated $100,000 of its annual parks maintenance capital funding towards resurfacing. This ordinance would appropriate funding from grant awards from the United States Tennis Association and a donation from the Greater Wilmington Tennis Association. In combination with the allocation, that would comprise a budget that would allow the city to resurface these courts this spring. I'll answer any questions that you have.
Any questions for Amy? Yes, Mr. Joyner?
Amy, how do we get on the National Association's radar? Is that something that they reach out to us about or we apply to them for? What's the history there?
The National Tennis Association, typically the grants are funneled down into the regional and state associations, and we have been really successful in obtaining those USTA dollars that are allocated by the state and region.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I don't have a question. This is going to, I guess, you and Becky and Tom. I looked at the numbers because in the pre-agenda meeting, I asked for the stats about how much money is being generated over there. And we look at 2020, was it 24? 23, 24, 25. So it was 23, 24, and 25, right?
Yes.
And we've pretty much, we tripled, almost tripled it, the amount of revenue that's being generated over there, right? In 24, was it like 35 or 38 or something?
It looks like it doubled from fiscal year 24 to fiscal year 25. It went from 35,852 to 72,995, and we're on pace to get around that 75,000 mark again this fiscal year.
Right, so we doubled. I'm giving you too much credit, my bad. But no, I want to say good job, and the way that we restructured
Our
mechanism,
fee schedule.
right, the fee schedule where we could generate more capital over there or more money over there is smart, and hopefully we continue to do it throughout, where we've been talking about other facilities that we have within the city, and we can generate some more money and do better and do more with the resources that we have. So I just want to say kudos to you all for that. Great job.
I appreciate you posing the question, so that helps allow us to tell our story. And we do have in the budget submittal that we're preparing right now some recommendations on additional changes to the fee schedule.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. What are the wishes of council in respect to the ordinance? We We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Joyner. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first reading. Is there a motion to waive second reading? Motion made by Councilmember Joyner, second by Mayor Pro Tem Spears. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first as well, second reading. That brings us to our next item of business, which is item O2A, which is an ordinance making the supplemental appropriations in the amount of $1 million to the Parks and Recreation Capital Projects Fund for the acquisition of real property suitable for development of a new park. And then item O2B is the resolution approving the interlocal agreement with New Hanover County regarding the purchase of park property. This time I'd like to recognize our city manager, Ms. Hall. Ms. Hall?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of council. With me is our Chief of Staff, Dennis Lacaria, who has been working on this project with me and with some of the partners that we have brought in. We do have a couple of slides to share with council and with the public just to provide a little bit of additional context to the potential joint acquisition of park property that we have before you tonight. So just for a little bit of geography, this is along Greenville Loop Road. This is approximately 25 acres across all of the conjoined properties, and it is adjacent to Bradley Creek Elementary School. Council recently approved a multi-use trail being built along Greenville Loop Trail that would have road frontage across this parcel. And the exact address is 6325 and 6345 Greenville Loop Road. It totals just over 25 acres. And going back in history a little bit, this parcel assemblage was first identified by city staff about 10 months ago in March of 2025. And in October of this year, council approved myself to be able to negotiate and potentially enter into a conditional sales contract if we were able to come to an agreement for a sale price. And we were also able to procure the partnerships needed to be able to make this purchase. So along with the city's commitment of up to $1 million in city funding, we were also looking for an equal partnership from New Hanover County. And then we would need grant funding to be able to fill in the gaps to be able to acquire such a large parcel. We have had the parcel appraised, and the appraisal came in at $10,060,000, and the proposed purchase price is $9.75 million. So what we are looking for tonight would be approval from council to appropriate the $1 million in city funds. And then New Hanover County is slated to consider a similar proposal at their meeting later on this month. And we have conditional grant approval from the New Hanover County Endowment to be able to provide the balance purchase price of up to $9.78 million to be able to complete that purchase. A couple of the parameters that are in the grant agreement that we want to make sure that City Council is clear on and that the community knows is that if the city moves forward with the acquisition of this park acquisition, we will be solely responsible to construct and operate the park within 5 years. So we operate our CIP on a 5-year funding schedule. We are about 2.5 years away from a new round of funding, and what we would look to do would be to move forward with the design of this park before the full round of new CIP funding becomes available, so that once that funding hits in about 2.5 years, we would then have a completed design, be able to move forward with construction to make sure that we are meeting the requirements of this funding agreement. So again, looking at the dates, we expect New Hanover County to consider this at their February 16th meeting, and then we are under a grant agreement, and the conditional purchase contract would have us closing before February 28th of this month if there is approval by all parties to move forward. When opportunity of rare, undeveloped, contiguous property that is in an ideal location to be able to bring an additional amenity to our community and also preserve as much of the undisturbed open buffers that would be surrounding this parcel. This also aligns with our 2022 Comprehensive Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan that called for the city to attempt to identify approximately 120 additional acres of property across the city to be able to have the desired ratio of citizens to acreage that they call for in that plan. This would account for about 25 of that 120 desired acres. As mentioned, the multi-use path with Greenville Loop runs at the front of this property, so there is excellent connectivity. To engage with the local community and with the school children to make this a great asset for them to have in their backyard and make sure that the park property complements the school and is just a fantastic asset for everybody in that area. This part of the city is also currently underserved by parks, and so it is a strategic location that we believe would benefit from this type of amenity. That is it as far as the slides are concerned, but certainly happy to answer any questions about the financial commitment on the part of the city or the proposed agreement with the county.
We have a question here from Councilmember Santaguido.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Becky and Dennis, for your work that you've put into this. I know it's been quite in the county for working with us on this potential partnership. This is certainly the kind of thing that I think our community is looking for in terms of collaboration and preserving green space and park space in our community. I guess I have two broad questions with respect to this proposal. First, are there any other conditions provided from the endowment or the county in terms of how we move forward with this partnership and how we use this space? And then my second question is, do you have any ballpark estimates of what it would cost to design, construct, and then long-term maintain this park?
Sure. The agreements both call for the city to maintain ownership and operation of these parcels for park purposes, and if we were to ever want to get out of the park game for any reason, there are different years of stipulations as far as, I believe it's a 99-year agreement that we would have to pay back the endowment for their contributions to the park acquisition if we were to want to stop utilizing it as a park. And with the county, it was if we looked to dispose of the property within 10 years, we would have to repay them for their donation. Otherwise, we're looking to be able to move forward. Broad estimate, it's hard to say given that we're probably 5 years away, 3 to 5 years away from construction, but even with, I would say, nominal amenities, you're probably looking at least $10 million in additional investment to have the correct infrastructure in place to be able to open it up and have bathrooms and parking and just even some of the base things that you need to have in order to have a fully functioning park. And then how grand or not it goes from there would be based on available budgets, community input, council desires, and figuring out where we land from there.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
So I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, right? But we know my history of thoughts and sentiments about this deal. And I'll say the same thing about this part that I said about us making the purchase of this building. When I see us make this type of contribution within the community as it relates to parks, I want to see us make the same type of contribution, if not greater, as it relates to the impact of the citizens in our community. And we've had 2 people to speak publicly concerning Greenfield Lake and the condition of that park, which is like the flagship park for Wilmington, New Hanover County. And then also Mr. Charles, who's asking about an investment in the north side. And I think that's reasonable. And so I'm not going to make it bad for us in the endowment and bad for us in the county, because especially between the city and the county, there has been and there will always be points of contention where we agree or where we don't agree, and certain things like the CRAC and affordable housing, and they've walked away from things like that, but then you come back to the table where we're discussing a park and creating a park and $1 million investment in the park. And I would much rather us all, and even the endowment, to make that substantial donation or contribution to the livelihood of people in these communities where you've had nonprofit organizations who have been denied their requests for funding and things like that. So again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I want people to understand that we're listening, and as the leaders of this community, what our expectations are. So again, I'm not going to say that this is a bad thing, but in every opportunity that we have to make an improvement for the citizens of this community, we should do so without hesitation. Thank you.
And if I may, Mayor Pro Tem, one thing that I anticipate council will see more of in the coming years is conversations about the actual cost to maintain the facilities that we have. I think sometimes in local government in general, there is a propensity to try to hold the line at an existing dollar amount in a budget, as opposed to really having a deep look and a conversation about what does it actually cost to maintain. And so trying to bring that to you all with the correct prioritization and some incremental increases so that we can maintain our existing facilities to a higher degree than maybe we've been able to in the past is something that is very important to myself, very important to staff, and I expect that you'll see that in the coming years and future budget conversations.
Councilmember Joyner.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the money questions that have been touched on a little bit. The $1 million, is that coming out of fund balance?
It is coming out of fund balance.
Okay, and so then that's the million that we put on the table to acquire this, and then the activation over the next few years, you said is probably closer to the $10 million range.
That's correct.
But we have this capital improvement projects round of funding coming up, which is going to be, what's ballpark for our most recent level of CIP funding for parks? Does anybody have that offhand?
Specific to parks?
I know that's
don't
a
have it
specific
specific
number,
to
sorry.
parks. Our finance director doesn't have it specific to parks, but Martha, do you have, what is the total CIP fund over a 5-year cycle? Okay, Martha's pulling up some numbers.
And Becky, I know that you and I just recently had the conversation about maybe it's not the best idea to think about CIP in streams of facilities and parks and streets, but that's how I think about it. So I am curious for what the parks number is, and no rush on that, we can move along. But I just wanted to highlight where this money is coming from now and where the future money is going to have to come from. Thank you.
Councilmember Lau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm also really excited to be a part of this decision and this process. We heard a lot, at least I did in my campaign, about the public is very clear this is what they're looking for from city government, and the market does not provide this. So thank you for all your work on this project. My question is about the timeline. We've got the endowment with their assessment that we're supposed to be basing some of our designs on. We've got the design time. We've got the 5 years to activation. So what is your understanding of that at word activation, 5 years to activate? What is our real deadline? What does that look like?
Sure, we would need to have a ribbon cutting and have at least significant portions of the park be operational within that timeline of 5 years. We did talk a little bit about phasing, and they were open to phasing so long as phase 1 was significant, right? So if it was simply a parking lot and a bathroom and a simple playground, that is not going to be considered significant. So We didn't get into the exact ratios of how much would need to be developed, but safe to say that if we did need to have some additional portions open up at a later date, that did sound like it would be acceptable, but we want it to be in use within that 5-year time frame, and then any additional work could be done in, say, the further stretches into the park if we needed to go down that path.
Okay, thank you. That's reassuring.
Hey, Cassidy, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess building on Councilmember Lyle's question, how long has it typically taken us to build an active park in the city?
So the complexity of the design is going to be key, but typically what you're looking at is anywhere from a 12 to 18-month design phase, and then, again, depending on complexity, 24 to 36 months for construction if it's got multiple design elements.
Kind of a tight turnaround time.
It is.
Just curious, I know that we, I guess, adopted the Parks Plan in 2023 through the advisory group that oversees the parks, now for the joint park system. And, as the lady was sharing with us, there's 744 acres of parks under our jurisdiction. Require this is 24. We've got 120 that have been identified, additional acreage that we need to accompany just the city of Wilmington, the population that resides within our 52 square miles. So after this acquisition, will we continuously look for opportunities, or will they just kind of drop on us? Because that's another issue that, we hear from the citizens, please see what you can do to preserve more open space. At the same time, I know that we have a master plan that we did on Greenfield Lake about several years ago that called for some specific things to be done there, and I agree wholeheartedly with the lady that spoke with us earlier that we need to do some stuff around Greenfield Lake, because that is a prestigious, it used to be the most prestigious park in the entire region. And I know that we're going to be talking about a lot of this during our budget process, I believe this Friday.
Yeah.
Starting this Friday, in respect to some of the CIP projects, not only for parks, but for other things. So what is the overall game plan for looking for more opportunity, if there's an opportunity to work with the possible county and/or the endowment to make this a reality for the community?
Sure, it's a great question, and certainly opportunities to partner are always welcome because it helps us stretch our dollar further. One thing that does put some pressure on, though, is then the development timeline. So if we are able to identify other parcels for strategic acquisition and we are fully funding it, then we would have more of an opportunity to buy and hold for future development that isn't under such a strict timeline. But when we're footing the bill entirely on our own, the ability to do that is simply going to be limited. And so I think that those are the questions that we would be bringing to council every time, is what is that balance between being able to move forward quickly with the actual development and activation, and how much can we actually take on at one time versus, we want to go ahead and do something on our own that is more expensive on the front end, but then we are able to set the timeline more specifically within our own abilities without needing to necessarily be beholden to others' requirements. So I think it's really going to depend on what's before you. Finding 25 acres to acquire at one given time, there are not many parcels like that left. So I would anticipate that a lot of the other chipping away that we might do would be likely to be smaller acreage parcels that may be more feasible for us to acquire. But again, from a partnership standpoint, we would love the opportunity to do this again if our partners are open to it.
So, and just, I think Amy left right after the vote, but I wanted to ask this question, if we do this. According to, and I'm just looking at the master plan, I picked it up and I was reading it during the snow, and it says, according to the 2021 TPL report, 36% of Wilmington residents are within a 10-minute walk of a park, which is below the national average of 55%. So with this acquisition, and I guess one question is, where does that drop us, where does that increase us to? And that's number one. And then number two, incorporated within that statistic, would that involve also any kind of county park that's within the incorporated city limits? For example, Longley Park is a pretty significant park located within the city of Wilmington. Is that calculated within that realm of when you're doing the calculation here, as well as, let's just say, Empie, Echo Farms, the joint park process that we have out there with the county, with the swim and the tennis and the walking trail out there. Can you just get me that?
It
tomorrow?
should be incorporated into that calculation. I don't know that specifically because I wasn't here when that study was done. But typically, they are looking at any public park asset when they're making that calculation. And then because this is underserved, that would increase that percentage. So more people would be within a mile walking distance. The exact percentage I don't have offhand, but we can get that calculated.
Because I didn't think y'all would have it immediately, but after if this becomes successful, I'd just like to know what that ratio currently would hopefully drop to or increase to for us. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you. All right, well, let's go to the ordinance, item 02A, which is the ordinance which I've already read into the record. What are the wishes of council in respect to the ordinance? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Santaguida. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Huh? Yeah, we have a unanimous vote here, but it's not showing up here. Dylan. I'm calling it as a unanimous vote. I'll just look at it. Everybody, just put up your hands, please. Okay, unanimous vote. That's unanimous. On first reading, is there a motion to waive second reading? Motion made by Councilmember Lau, second by Councilmember Joyner. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on second reading also. Let's go to the item 02B, which is a resolution approving an interlocal agreement with New Hanover County regarding the purchase of the park. What are the wishes of council? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Santaguida, second by Councilmember Joyner. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes unanimously. Congratulations to all. Thank you. That brings us to our next item of business, which is our resolutions. This was announced the following resolution. This item was continued from council's January 20th, 2026 meeting. And item R1 is a resolution requesting further review of the Wilmington Harbor 403 project. This time I'd like to recognize City Manager Ms. Hawk. Ms. Hawk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. This item will be handled by our Director of Legislative and Intergovernmental Affairs, Kara Spencer.
Hello, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. This item before you is brought forward by Council to underscore the City of Wilmington's concerns related to the Wilmington Harbor 403 dredging project. We did submit as a city our various detailed comments to the Department of Environmental Quality. And as you know, just prior to our discussion at the last council meeting, that was January 20th, NCDEQ announced that the Army Corps of Engineers, along with the State Ports Authority, had asked them to pause review entirely to consider the many issues raised. I can tell you that reviewing all of the comments that are available now on the NCDEQ website, there were 125 comments raising extreme concerns, and there were 7 that were in favor that did not raise concerns. And of course, as a city, we want to mitigate environmental impacts and avoid disturbing PFAS layers. And so this is brought once again to you for your consideration.
Okay. So Kara, if we go ahead and make our comments, formally take a position here with the resolution, it makes no difference. I mean, we'll get those comments to the secretary and to them.
They already are in receipt of our detailed comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
And it's unlikely that anything will change until after March 5th.
Okay. What's the recommendation? Any particular one?
I recommend passing it.
Okay. All right. We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Santaguida, second by Councilmember Andrews. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. This concludes the regular agenda. Are there any items to be brought forward by our city attorney,
No, sir.
city manager,
No, sir.
Madam Clerk,
No, sir.
Santaguida?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. We had a pretty significant snow event this past weekend over the last 2 days. I know my daughter and many kids of all ages around the city enjoyed a snow day. But I just want to say thank you to city staff and first responders and volunteers who kept our community informed and safe and warm for this event. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrews?
I just wanted to once again thank the folks that are keeping the warming shelter open during these really frigid nights that we've been having. And I think they were open like all day on Monday. And it really takes a lot of volunteers, and it also takes money. So if you can't go down and give of your time and your talent, please go to warmingshelterilm.com and send them a few dollars.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate the sentiments of Councilwoman Santaguida for staff, personnel of North Carolina Department of Transportation, everybody who just took care of these Wilmington and New Hanover County streets. Amazing job. I hadn't left the house until today, but it looked good out there from what I could see, especially compared to last year when we got that mystery snow. So I guess we're getting a lot better at taking care of this. Everybody laughs at the city being shut down. I don't mind it, actually. But I do want to say this, happy Black History Month. We understand that Black history is a part of U.S. history. I don't really care how anybody else feels about that. And so I'm going to keep saying it and keep living it and keep being proud of that as well. And just one more thing I want to say, some of the most dangerous people in our community are the people that don't really care about anybody else. And I'm not saying that like in a violence aspect. I'm saying it as far as a well-being aspect. We're starting to see, on most days I travel 3 counties, and I see people driving on the yellow lines, over the yellow lines. I mean, just a total disregard for the well-being of others. And I think that's crazy. But people want to protect their own stuff. They want to protect their lives, but they'll jeopardize the lives of others. So I think if, I read it earlier this morning where it said something like high quality people are not down in the lives of other people. And I don't think you can totally disregard the lives of anybody in this community and think that your life is of value. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Clinton Quintana?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to our city staff, all of our police officers, first responders. You all did an amazing job of protecting us during this wonderful snowstorm. I had not been out of the house in 4 days. Today was the first day, and I was grateful to be able to come out and enjoy a little sunshine. So definitely appreciate all of you. I didn't expect a city council meeting tonight, and grateful to be able to see all of my colleagues up here and all of you out in the audience. I will also say that this is a time of year that, one, is Black History Month. I do echo Mayor Pro Tem on that, so please be mindful of that and help everyone celebrate. It's not always a happy-go-lucky month, but it is something that we do remember the history of our ancestors and what not to do and what also to do going forward. So thank you for that. I appreciate all of you, and thank you for coming and those online for listening.
Councilmember Lau?
No, sir. All mine were already taken. I'm almost last.
Councilmember Joyner?
Same here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I also like to echo what others have said about the outstanding work that our city staff was doing out there. I believe that we have 3 snowplows. 3? We did a heck of a job for 3 snowplows, don't you think? And thank God for the warm weather too. That helped a lot. But that was outstanding work on a lot of people's behalf, including the North Carolina Department of Transportation, Highway Patrol, the Sheriff's Department, all of the elected leaders that were out there, making certain that everybody was safe. It gets tricky down here in the South when we have snowstorms because a lot of people like to hit the brake and punch the gas. So it can get a little dangerous out there. But for overall, we did very well and outstanding work on everybody's behalf. So again, on behalf of all the citizens, we thank you, and thank you for taking an interest in your government. We stand adjourned. And by the way, we have Tim Merrick also here with us. I forgot to say it. Tim from the school board. Tim Merrick, welcome. Thank you. Good night, everybody.